Hello everyone, Lydia Alverson here, back with another video, and I was requested by a viewer to do a review on an old note taker. So yeah, this is my first retro tech video. Now, it just so happens that I have my brailleNote Apex sitting right here in front of me, and unfortunately, most of the functionality that requires the internet no longer works because it requires services that have since been discontinued. And I'll get to that later. So, in this particular video though, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a physical overview of the unit. And then in part 2, I'm actually going to go ahead and dive into some of the functionality. And, well, mainly I'm just going to dive into the menu options that are available and demonstrate a little bit. So, let's get to it. So, right in front of me, I have my brailleNote Apex BT, and I believe these units came out in 2009. And I ended up getting mine in 2014 when I was living in San Pablo in the Bay Area. So, let me go ahead and give you a brief overview of what the unit looks like. So, the unit consists of a Braille-style keyboard with 1, 2, 3 on the left, followed by a backspace key, 4, 5, 6, followed by the enter key on the right. And in between them is a scroll wheel, and right below that is a spacebar. And a little bit below that is a Braille display with a cursor routing key right above each cell. So this is a 32-cell Braille display. So, on the front of the unit, we have 4 navigation thumb keys. So, starting from left to right, we have previous, back, advance, and next. And these keys are pretty helpful, especially if you're reading text using the Braille display. And by the way, did I mention that this thing talks as well? Yes, it does. Now, on the left-hand side, we have a record button for recording data. We have a headphone jack. Right above that, we have a microphone jack. Now, the way to differentiate the two is to locate the 2 markers above the headphone jack. Above and below the headphone jack, excuse me. Moving on from there, we have the power switch. And finally, the reset button, which is used if something goes wrong, if this thing were to crash, or if it's not responding normally, then this is what you would normally do. Is hold the reset button for X amount of times, or X amount of seconds, and do all that stuff. I'm going to switch hands here. So on the back of the unit, we have 3 USB ports. Now, do keep in mind that these are the older USB models. So, if you had maybe a newer USB thumb or flash drive, these may not work with this particular machine, because this is, like I mentioned, an older USB model. So, and they work with some of the older, HP DeskJet printers that I've used when I was in high school. And after those, we have an SD card, a slot for an SD card. Right after that, we have these 3 indicators, and I believe these are for Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connections. Next, we have, and now I'm not entirely sure what the name of the monitor is, but this is the port where you're able to connect a monitor to the machine, and I assume this is for sighted people if they want to see what you're doing on your machine. And there's a specific program with that, and I won't go into that. I won't go into too much on that one. And then finally, we have a wired Ethernet port. So this is your standard. Sorry about that. This is a standard Ethernet port. So this is for basically if you have a wired internet connection, and if you're in a place where Wi-Fi is no longer available, you can use this. Now, before I move on, let me just explain a couple things. On the topic of internet, with the Empower, if you guys remember with the brailleNote Empower, in order for you to connect to Wi-Fi or wireless Ethernet, as they used to call it, you had to purchase one of those wireless cards that will allow you to connect to wireless networks. And thankfully with the Apex, it's a lot better now. You now have a wireless chip built in, thankfully. So this definitely makes my life a little bit easier. I've never really connected to the internet on my Empower, but yeah, I do remember that from back in the day, reading user manuals and stuff. Anyway, moving on. So on the right-hand side, we have the AC adapter port, and right below that is a USB client port. So this is handy, especially if you wanted to connect this to your computer to use as a refreshable braille display, or to synchronize data from your computer to the machine. And I still remember back in the old days, when it came to connecting this device to your computer, this would kill your battery significantly. And on the back of the unit, I'm going to try not, and I won't really show this too much, but on the back is the serial number. By the way, this is in Braille. And then the battery compartment. Now, as you all remember, with the Empower, in order for you to replace the battery, you had to bring it in to Humanware so they can replace it for you. And it's usually done every 18 months because, yes, rechargeable batteries do wear out. However, with the Apex, and I would imagine with the brailleNote Touch as well, you can now replace the battery yourself. So all you would have to do is remove this latch to the side and then put the battery in. And that's it for a physical description of the unit. Sorry about the shaky camera, guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. So next, we're going to go ahead and actually dive into this. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the stuff that is available on here, which, by the way, no longer works. So, I will see you guys in just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Now, we're going to go ahead and start diving into this. So, let me go ahead and put this camera down real quick. Let me make sure this is still recording, and it is. And by the way, I did forget to mention earlier that this is going to be raw, unedited footage, so I'm just going to put these together in QuickTime Player. Okay, let's see how we're going to do this. Okay, I think that'll be alright. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the unit now by pushing the rocker back towards me.
Main menu.
Okay, so I'm at the main menu. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go over the various menu options available. Now, do keep in mind, some of the functions that are available here no longer work since they do require services that have since been discontinued. So, the first thing we have, and I'm going to hit space,
Word processor.
is the word processor, and it's pretty standard. It's just, you can create and open documents, and things like that. And it says on my Braille display, word processor, and it's interesting because it's actually, you would think they're spaced out, but nope. They're combined into one word, apparently. Sorry, little random tangent there. Let's move on. Planner, so this is like your calendar, basically, to keep track of, they call appointments. I mean, I'm used to saying events now because I use an iPhone. But this can work in conjunction, with Microsoft Outlook, if you have an account.
Address list.
This is basically your contacts list. And by the way, I did forget to mention that they actually have, a lot of these programs have specific names. because this runs on Keysoft. So word processor is keyword, planner is keyplan, and now address list is keylist. So this would be like your contacts. And again, you can sync these with your Microsoft Outlook account if you have one.
Email.
This is your email client, which is Keymail. And it's pretty straightforward. It allows you to set up email clients on your device, on this device, and send and receive emails on your device as well.
Internet.
Now, Internet, which was formerly KeyWeb, and now with the introduction of the brailleNote Touch, it uses Chrome. So the KeyWeb runs off of Internet Explorer, and I personally don't use it very much now because now a lot of websites now do not support Internet Explorer, which, by the way, it's been around for quite some time. So yeah, so Internet Explorer, this is probably not the best option. This is not the best web browser to use right now, unfortunately, because since Microsoft has since switched to Microsoft Edge, which is now the default browser for Windows. And Chrome is also an option as well. Okay, what's next?
Chat.
This is KeyChat, which sadly, unfortunately, involves instant messaging services, which, by the way, have since been discontinued. I do know that AOL has since discontinued theirs, and Yahoo has followed suit and discontinued their instant messenger, or instant messaging clients. Yep, so, by the way, for those of you guys that are in the for those of you guys that aren't sure what I'm talking about, welcome to a little history lesson on the old school internet. So, yeah, so that's how it used to be back in the day, before we had Facebook, Messenger, Twitter, and all that good stuff. That was how we used to communicate on the internet, was with instant messaging. Okay, let's move on.
Media Center.
Now, Media Center is pretty cool. This is where you can, it has a dedicated media player, so you can play music that you've downloaded onto here through, off the internet. You can download it off the internet or transfer it from your computer to here as well. You can also record memos. They call them memos here, but I'm used to saying voice memos, so you can make audio recordings. And you can also listen to the built-in FM radio they have available.
Navigation.
Navigation, this uses Sendero's GPS applications.
Book reader.
Book reader is what it says. Book reader is basically where you can download books from book services like Bookshare, and I believe they have just recently added Audible as an option as well.
Scientific calculator.
Now, I've used this a lot in high school, so this is a scientific calculator. It's pretty much what it is. It works like any other normal calculator. You can perform basic calculations, fractions, enter data, and all that good stuff. Statistics. Okay, next.
Database manager.
Database manager is basically kind of like, it's similar to like a spreadsheet application, except instead of rows and columns like in a table, it's all divided into fields. So this is pretty handy, especially if you're trying to keep records of certain things. They actually have, Keysoft has actually supplied 9 to get you started. And if you feel adventurous, you could create your own, and I have a couple times. It's pretty handy. I like using this. It's like using a spreadsheet application, and you can also import these into a spreadsheet. Well, you can export it to a CSV file, which was, I don't even know if it's still used anymore, and import it into Excel and some other older spreadsheet applications. Okay, what's next?
Games.
Now this is my personal favorite application. Yes, you can, in fact, play games on this thing. However, here's the catch. The only games that are supported on here right now are, in fact, text adventure games. Old school IF, or interactive fiction text adventure games. And I enjoy playing these as a kid. I still enjoy them to this day. In fact, I think they've come out with some pretty cool selections, and I've actually played some from like back in the late 90s. So basically, these games you basically type commands to control your character and explore your environment. And these games are pretty fun. And I didn't have any clue what these were when I was a kid, and then later I was reading the user manual, and sadly I didn't really have any access to any internet, so I can't, because it uses old school internet to access this website. I didn't really have any access to the internet with my Empower, but when I had my Apex, that's when I really started to get into it, and since then I started downloading some pretty cool, I started playing these games. And unfortunately, the only games that are actually supported are games that are in Z code. So anything with graphics or anything of that nature does not work on here. Okay, what's next?
Extensions X.
So extensions, there's about, I only see one available, and these are like software packages or whatever. And the only thing I was able to find is the Nemeth tutorial.
File Manager.
File Manager allows you to move and copy files and things like that. Basically manage your folders and files, deleting files and things like that. Utilities, this allows you to change the date and time of your device, and a few other advanced options which I won't get into.
Terminal for screen reader.
Now, Terminal for screen reader is really cool. So this allows you to use the brailleNote as a refreshable braille display for your computer if you want to use USB or Bluetooth to connect. So this acts as a refreshable braille display for any connected device, such as a smartphone or a computer, and it can be connected via USB client or Bluetooth. Now, I know before with the Empower it was serial or Bluetooth, so those are like the old school ways of connecting that was like the old school connections. Maybe even a little bit before USB, I guess.
Keyboard Learn.
Keyboard Learn is basically the input mode, or keyboard help. So most screen readers have this, and most talking products have something similar. Basically, you just hit a key and it tells you what it is.
For information, press space with I.
So this is sort of like a little hint that's telling me that if I wanted more information about my device, I can simply press space with I, and it gives me some information on the copyright and what the serial number is and all that good stuff.
For the options menu, press space with O anywhere.
And then this tells me how to get to the options menu, which has specific settings I can change if I wanted to. And then finally we have end of menu, so now we're at the end of the list. So I'm just going to hit space to wrap around.
Main menu.
Now, finally we're going to go ahead and let's just kind of get into it by just writing a simple document. So let's demonstrate this a little bit. So the first thing, I want to go ahead and go into the word processor. So I'm going to go ahead and hit W.
Keyword menu.
And it brings me to keyword menu. So this brings me to, this is the word processing application. So all I want to really do right now is to create a document. So I'm going to hit C for create.
Folder name. Press enter for Lydia's personal folder of stuff.
I couldn't think of anything else. But this is basically asking me, where do I want to save this? And this is kind of nice because you don't have to worry about dealing with that after you're done writing your document. Unlike most computer programs that make you save your stuff if you leave the program, like Microsoft Word. But I'm just going to go ahead and confirm my selection here, and just hit enter.
Document to create.
And I'm just going to confirm something real quick.
Grade 2.
Okay.
Folder name. Document to create.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call this demonstration. And if I hit enter, hopefully it works this time.
A file of that name already exists.
Hold on. Let me do that again. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. It turned out that I had to make a couple of changes. But anyway, let's try this again. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this, or let's go ahead and name this document demonstration. And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter.
Top of document. Blank.
And now it brings me to the top of a blank document. So, I can just simply start typing. Whoops. Okay, now give me 1 second. Let me just make sure I didn't mess up, because I don't want to cover too much. Okay, so I just basically just went ahead and typed a couple sentences here. So I'm going to go ahead and have the text-to-speech read the paragraph to me by hitting space with 2356.
Hello. This is a demonstration for a video for YouTube. Please note that it's been quite a while since I've used this machine.
And there you have it. So, that's pretty much the basics of it. Now, if you're wondering how I'm able to save this document, it's simple. All I need to do is hit space with E to exit.
Exit. Keyword menu.
And it automatically saves the file. Now, if I hit space with E one more time,
Exit. Main menu.
I'm back at the main menu. And on that note, that pretty much does it. Give me 1 second. So, if you guys liked this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. And one more thing I'd like to note is that I won't be uploading this one for a while, so probably by the time you're watching this, it'll be uploaded around the time of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.